Iterative constructs means if you want to repeat an operation multiple times, you need to bring in something called a loop. Okay, say for example, you want to print, say system.out.println. I am going to print hello XYZ. This thing I want to print 100 times. Okay, just system.out.println hello XYZ. I want this statement to be printed 100 times. So how will I print it? I mean, it doesn't make any sense for me to keep on typing system.out.println hello XYZ, system.out.println hello XYZ. That doesn't make any sense, right? So 100 times, if I keep on writing it, how much time is wasted? And it's the same thing that keeps on repeating, right? So it's not a good approach to write or copy the statement 100 times. Say for example, if you want to execute or if you want to print hello XYZ 1,000 times, don't you think that becomes more complex, more difficult to print the same thing 1,000 times? How will you keep on copying it? You have to copy, then you have to count. It's not an easy task, right? Some process that needs to be repeated many times, we write it with the help of iterative constructs. There are 3 types of iterative constructs in Java. First one is for loop. Second one is while loop. And third one is do while loop. Of this and this is the most important. Okay. So for loop is what I will explain first. In for loop, again, I told you these things, these iterative constructs are used to repeat certain steps a large number of times, right? So you don't need to keep on writing the same statement again and again. You don't need to write it. That is the reason why you are bringing in for loop. Say I'm taking let me explain for loop. So for loop, what happens is the syntax of for loop is first I will write for followed by a bracket. Inside the bracket, I need a control variable. Okay, I need a control variable. So this control variable, I will give an initial value to control variable. Giving an initial value to control variable, put a semicolon, then write the condition here. Then condition means for how long the for loop should get executed. That condition is what I'm writing here. Okay, so control variables initial value, then the test condition, and then how the control variable should be updated. Say for example, how the control variable incremented or decremented. Okay, so 3 things is what generally you write in a for loop. First thing, a control variable with the initial value. Then you will write a condition for how long the for loop should execute. See, if you're not writing a condition, what will happen? It will keep on executing and the loop is never ending. So your program is going in an infinite loop. So the program is not ending. So that is not useful. That's not a good thing, right? It will keep on executing till your computer is runs out of memory. So that's not the right approach. There should be a stopping condition when the for loop should stop. That condition you have to specify here. Okay, then how the control variable should be incremented or decremented, that is going to be the last part. Okay, so let me take the example, the above example. So here I said I want to print the statement system.out.println hello XYZ 100 times, right? That's what my condition was. So for this, what I'll write is for, usually we take control variable as I, but there is no hard and fast rule that you should take only I. It can be any variable. Okay. So I'm going to declare the variable I here, which is the control variable. Give an initial value. In this case, I want system.out.println to be repeated 100 times. So I am using the control variable to count. Okay, to count means starting from 100 times it needs to print. So I is acting as a counter. Okay, I will keep on counting. Okay, so I equal to 1, and the condition is till the value of I is less than or equal to 100. Till the value of I is less than or equal to 100, I need to keep on executing what is coming in the loop. Now, how it should be incremented? Increment by 1. So inside the for loop, I will write system.out.println hello XYZ or whatever. See, I have written int I equal to 1 because that is the control variable. Control variable means I told you for a for loop, something should be controlling this loop. So here I am declaring a variable named I, and that will control the execution, control the number of times this loop will get executed. So here I am saying the starting value of I is 1, and this loop should keep on executing, should keep on getting executed 100 times. That's what I'm saying. Say, I'll just explain it to you. So when in the first iteration happens, first iteration means when the control enters into for loop, what happens is when the control enters into the for loop, we call it as iteration 1. Okay, iteration 1, it is going to enter into the for loop. So in the first step, what happens? The I variable get declared, and I is getting the initial value 1. Got it? I is getting the initial value 1. Then after I is having initial value 1, it will come and check whether this 1, okay, 1, I, what is the value of I? The value of I is 1. So is this 1 less than or equal to 100? This is the condition. Okay, it is checking this condition. Is 1 less than or equal to 100? What do you think? So 1 is smaller than 100. So it sees that the condition is true because 1 is smaller than 100. So it will go inside the for loop. Okay, because condition is true, it will go inside the for loop. And what is it saying? Just system.out.println hello XYZ. So first time hello XYZ gets printed. Got it? Now loop is getting closed here. When the loop is closing, again it will go back to, the control will go back to the beginning of the loop. It will go back to the beginning of the loop, and this is called iteration 2, second iteration. In the second iteration, how is it incrementing? You have told that the value of I should be incremented by 1. Okay, so you have clearly mentioned here, I should be incremented by 1. So you will, and so in the next iteration, the value of I will become 2, because that's how you have instructed. That's what you have instructed to do. So you said increment by 1. So it will be incremented by 1. So in the second iteration, the value of I will become 2. Okay. Now, what will be the condition? 2 less than or equal to 100. The value of I is 2 right now. So is 2 less than or equal to 100? Yes, 2 is smaller than 100, right? So again, it will go inside the for loop. So it will go inside the for loop, and what is it saying? Again, print hello XYZ. Okay, that gets printed. Again, the loop gets over, it just completes. So again, it goes to the beginning of the loop. As instructed, I has to be incremented by 1. So in iteration 3, the value of I becomes 3. The value of I becomes 3, and then it goes and checks the condition. Is 3 less than or equal to 100? 3 is less than or equal to 100, right? 3 is less than 100. So again, condition is true. Just goes inside and prints hello XYZ. So like that, it will keep on printing 100 times. 100 times it will print. And after 100th time, okay, assume that the value of I is 100 now. When the value of I is 100, the condition would be 100 less than or equal to 100. 100 less than or equal to 100 is true, right? 100 less than or equal to 100. It is true. So again, it will print hello XYZ. Okay. So 100 times hello XYZ gets printed. Then again, it will go back. Now the value of I becomes 101. Okay. After 100 iteration, in the 101th iteration, the value of I become 101. So is 101 less than or equal to 100? Is that true? 101. Is it 101 less than or equal to 100? Is it true or false?
False.
It is false. So it is false. So the condition has become false. When the condition becomes false, it will, the loop won't get executed. The control will come to the statement immediately after the for loop. So if you have written some other statements here, those statements will get executed. The moment the condition becomes false, it won't go inside the for loop. Okay, it won't go inside the loop. It will just come outside the for loop and continue executing the remaining statements. This is how for loop works. Now, for loop is called entry controlled loop. Okay, for loop is called entry controlled loop because it is called entry controlled loop because before entering into the loop, it checks the condition. It checks whether the condition is true or false. Only if the condition is true, it will go and execute the statement within the loop. If the condition is false, it will not execute the loop. Okay, say for example, I'm writing for int I equal to 10. I less than or equal to 5. I plus plus. Inside the for loop, some statements are there. Okay, so if this is the case, what is the initial value of I? What is the initial value of I? Initial value of I is 10. What is the condition saying? This is the condition. Okay, so what does it mean? 10 less than or equal to 5. What do you think? Is it true or false?
False.
It is false because 10 is bigger than 5. So the control will immediately come to this statement. It won't execute even once. The for loop won't get executed even once because it checks the condition, and only if the condition is true, it will get inside the loop. Okay, so that is the reason why for loops are called entry controlled loop. So entry to the loop is controlled by the condition. Okay, so entry to the loop is controlled. So at the time of entry itself, you are checking whether the condition is satisfied or not. Only if the condition is satisfied, the statements in the for loop will get executed. Let's do this program. This is the question.
Java util.
Yes. So you will write import java.util.star. Okay. What is the next statement?
Public class.
Yes. Public class. Maybe negative or something you will write. Some class name you will write negative or sum of negative. Something you write. Okay. Next.
Public static void main.
Yes.
String artist.
Yes, public static void main string rs. Okay. Then
Scanner in is equal to new scanner system dot.
scanner in equal to new scanner system dot in. You need to input 10 numbers and you need to find the sum of only negative numbers. Okay. If you input positive numbers, you don't need to add them. You just need to add the negative numbers. Got it? So how do you identify whether a number is negative or not? How do you check? Not exactly. Don't you think if I say, if the number is n, if n less than 0, if I write n less than 0, don't you think this means it's a negative number?
Yes.
Yes. So this is how we do it. Okay. So first I will initialize my variable. I'm considering the numbers as n. Okay. In sum equal to 0 and I'm just declaring n. Okay. N I am declaring, initializing sum to 0. Two things I'm doing in one statement. Then I will write for int I equal to, see how many numbers? 10 numbers, right? So I am making I as a counter here, something to count. So I's initial value will be 1. And how many times this for loop should get executed? 10 times, right? Because I need to input 10 numbers. So I less than or equal to 10, and each time I should be incremented by 1. So if, since it needs to be incremented by 1, I am writing it as I plus plus. Here I will check, I am asking it to input the number. So I'll write system dot out dot println, enter the number. Enter the number.
Int sum is equal to 0 n that way.
I'm just initializing a variable because you are asked to save, you are asked to find the sum of negative numbers. Okay, which all negative numbers you input, all the negative numbers sum you need to store somewhere. And I am keeping sum as a variable that keeps the sum of all the negative numbers. Okay, so initial value of that has to be 0, right? If there is some random value, I will not get the correct answer. So that is the reason why I'm initializing it with 0. So then I am declaring another variable n, which is of int type. Okay, so in this statement, sum is initialized to 0. Sum is declared and initialized. Two things are happening here. Variable sum is declared and it is initialized to 0, plus variable n is declared here. Okay, so these are the two things that's happening in that one statement. So here you are entering the number. Entering the number means you have to say n is equal to in dot next int. So the number that you are inputting, n, if n is a negative number, if n is less than 0, if n is a negative number, only then you need to add it to sum. Okay, only then you need to add it. If it is a positive number or if it is 0, you don't need to do anything. So see, this is an example of the simple if condition. There is no else case coming here. There is no else part coming here. Okay, so you are just checking if the value of n is smaller than 0 or
Sum is equal to sum plus n. I didn't understand.
what is the question saying? What is the question saying? Print the sum of only the negative numbers. Got it? You need to print the sum of negative numbers. I will draw a dry run and show you. So here, what happens in the for loop is, see, initially you are declaring sum to 0, right? Then comes the for loop. In the first iteration, in the first iteration, the value of I is 1. Okay. Here you are inputting the value n. Say some number you are inputting. Which number you want to input?
2.
2. Okay. So then it will check, is n less than, n means 2. Is 2 less than 0? Is it true? Is
False.
it is false. So this will not get executed. Only if n is smaller than 0, the value of sum will be changed. You will add sum to, you will add that number to sum. Now it will not happen. It will go to the next iteration, okay, because that was the last statement in the loop. So it will go to the beginning of the loop again. So iteration 2 is happening now. Iteration 2. I value has become 2. Give me a value for n now. So 10 times you have to keep on inputting n, right? So give me a value for n now.
-10.
N equal to -10. Fine. So it is checking, is -10 less than 0? -10 is less than 0, right? So when -10 is less than 0, it enters into this condition. It enters into the condition, and what it does is sum equal to sum plus n. What was the initial value of sum? Initial value of sum was 0. So this 0 plus, what is the current value of n? -10. Okay. So sum has become -10 now. Got it? Is becoming 3. Give me a value for n quickly. 3. Okay. So n is 3. So is 3 is less than 0? Is 3 less than 0? No, right? It is not less than 0. So again, it will go to the next iteration. Iteration 4. In iteration 4, I becomes 4. So what is the n value? What is, it is inputting, it is waiting for an input. So you have to give a quickly, you have to give me a value for n.
-5.
-5. Okay. So -5 is less than 0. Condition is true. Since the condition is true, sum you will change to -10. The value of sum is -10 now. So sum plus n, which is -5, which would be -15. You understood? So only for the values that you enter, which are smaller than 0, it will add. Anything which is 0 or greater than 0, it will not add to some variable. Do you understand this?
Yes.
So how many times this loop will get executed? Till the value of I becomes 10. So once it's not up to 10, when till the value of I becomes, till the value of I becomes 10, the loop will get executed. The moment I becomes 11, okay, the moment I becomes 11, it will exit from the loop, because our condition is, what is our condition? I less than or equal to 10. The moment I becomes 11, condition is false. So it will not execute that. So here you will write system.out.println sum of only negative numbers. Only negative numbers is plus sum. Close it, close the bracket, and that's it. Now this is end of main method and end of the class. While loop. So the major difference between while loop and for loop is, while loop is used, mostly while loop is used when you don't know how many times the iteration needs to be performed. Okay, so sometimes what happens is, I will give you a number. I'm giving an example. I will give you a number like 5678, 5678. This is n. So how many digits are there in this number? 4 digits are there. Now I am giving you 782. How many digits are there in this in this number? 3 digits, right? So here I have 3 digits, the other number I have 4 digits. So this is, I can have any number of digits, and maybe the question is like, find the number of digits in a number. Okay. So if I am asking you to find the number of digits in an entered number, you don't know how many times the loop should be executed. Okay, so because the number should be maybe a 1-digit number, it could be a 2-digit number, it could be a 3-digit number. It's up to the user, the person who enters the number. So we don't know how many times how many times the loop needs to be executed. So when the number of times loop needs to be executed is uncertain, at that time you come and use while loop. But if you know how many times for loop should be executed, then also you can use it. Okay, there is no hard and fast rule that you should use while loop only when you don't know how many times it should be executed. Generally we go to for loop if we know the number of times that loop has to be executed. And you go to while loop when you are not sure about how many times loop should be executed. While loop would be like this. While condition, okay, the statements to be executed, and close the while loop. This is how the syntax of the while loop would look like. Okay, so while condition, certain statements, a block of statement that needs to be executed if the condition is true. Let me take the example of previous question. In previous question, we had to input 10 numbers. We had to input 10 numbers, and you need to find the sum of only negative numbers, right? That's what you did previously. So the same question, how can you do it using while loop? That's what I'm going to show you now. How we did the previous program. We wrote for int I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus, right? And we did some statements here. This is how we did the previous program. So in the while condition, we don't have control variable and all that, right? But we need some sort of counter to count how many times the loop should be executed. Whatever be the type of loop, whether it is for loop, whether it while loop or do while loop, there should be an exit condition. There should be a condition which will allow you to come out of the loop. Okay, if you are not coming out of the loop, the problem is you will go in an infinite loop and the program will never terminate. Okay, so here I equal to 1 was the control variable. So in the case of while condition, what I'll do is I will just write int I equal to 1. This is not part of while condition, while loop. I am just writing it outside the while loop. Then I will write while, what is the condition mentioned here? I less than or equal to 10, right? So the same condition I will write here. I am talking about the previous question. Please remember that. Now, inside the loop, what I have to input a number. So I wrote system.out. I'm not writing it, just system.out.println, enter the number, and then I will write n equal to in.nextInt. Okay. And then I will check if n is less than 0, then sum would be sum plus n, right? This is what we did in the previous program. Just check this out. You see this system.out.println, enter the number, n equal to in.nextInt. If n is less than 0, sum equal to sum plus n. And end the loop here, right? You are ending the loop here. Now coming back to this part. Did you understand this? So what's happening here? So in for loop, you will write the initialization and increment or decrement in the same statement. Whereas in while loop, initialization is done before the while loop and increment or decrement statement has to be written inside the while loop. Okay. Write a program to count the number of digits in an inputted number. Input, say sample input is, assuming the number I have inputted is 834. So output is going to be number of digits equal to 3. Okay. So if I have inputted a 4-digit number, the number of digits is going to be 4. Okay. So here you need to input a number. So obviously the first statement would be import java.util.star. Then you will write class name, public class, digits. Then you write public static void main. String args. Start the curly bracket. Declare create a scanner object, scanner in equal to new scanner system.in. Then you will write system.out.println. Enter the number. Then I will write int n equal to in.next int. Okay, so I am going to store the number in the variable n. Fine. Now I need to have few variables. Which all variable I want, I will declare later. Now I'm going to start with a while loop. Okay, so while loop, what I'm going to write is while n is greater than 0. At the moment, assuming that n is, I have entered the number 834. Okay, so while n is greater than 0, I have to perform something. What is it that I have to do? That I will be writing under while loop. Okay, so you have inputted n and you know what is the value of n. You have inputted, so definitely it is mostly going to be bigger than 0, right? So now here what you will do, int, so here I'm going to write, I need to have a counter variable because I need to count the number of digits that I am going to initialize to 0. The number of digits are going to be 0 first. Then inside here, I will write count n equal to n by 10. Okay, so if 834 by 10, what is the answer? Answer is going to be 83. Okay, so remember that. So this, after doing this, I am going to just increment the count variable by 1. That's all. Okay, here ends my program. System.out.println. What was the number of digits, right? Number of digits equal to number of digits equal to plus count. Here ends my program. Okay, so I want to show you how it works. N you have, assuming that n you have inputted as 834. Okay, and count is initially you have initialized count to 0. Fine. Now while n greater than 0, is 834, is it bigger than 0? It is bigger than 0, right? Since it is bigger than 0, you will write n equal to n by 10. N by 10 means 834 divided by 10. So both are integer. It's an integer division. When integer division happens, I have told you the answer is going to be the quotient part. Okay, it's not going to be 83.4. It will be only 83. Got it? It will give you the whole number, the quotient only you will get. So 83 is, n is becoming 83. Then you will increment count and the new count will become 1. Once it reaches the end of the while loop, it will go to the current value of n is 83. Is 83 greater than 0? It is
Yes.
greater than 0, right? So since it is greater than 0, again it will do n equal to n by 10. That is 83 by 10. So 83 by 10, the result is going to be 8. Integer division, so you will get only the quotient as the answer. Now count is again incremented. So count gets incremented and the value of count is 2 right now. Okay, again you go back because you have reached the end of the while loop. Again you go back, you see that 8 is, which is 8 is the current value of n. 8 is bigger than 0. So again n would be 8 by 10, and at this moment n becomes 0, but count gets incremented to 3. Okay, count is count plus 1, which is 3 right now. Now again, end of the while loop, it goes back and it checks, is 0 greater than 0? No, 0 is not greater than 0. The condition is false. So it will come and print this statement. That is, number of digits is equal to count. What is the current value of count? Current value of count is 3.